Women's Empowerment Panel, and yes.
All right, if everybody could take their seat and settle in, we are about to get started. I don't see Faith, she's not here yet. Thank you so much for coming. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Allie Jane, and I had a pop-up here, which is now ended, so I'm just doing some events. This is our second Women's Empowerment, and when I was speaking to Faith Lockhart about it, who manages the marketing team for Garden, she had recommended doing it on this, and I think it just could not have been perfect to be able to celebrate each and every of us and all women on International Women's Day. So welcome, and I'm gonna move this for a minute. Just so. Okay. I would like to start tonight with a silent prayer for the women of who even knows what in the bag, and I think that could be us waiting at Amtrak like 20 rows deep. So let's just start the night with that. In prayers for them, as we are women, and you know it's such a sad, awful situation. So we're going to do about a 10-second moment of silence as we think and manifest for their safety and security. Okay, thank you. I just think, you know, it's so sad as a mom, and just seeing what's going on, just, you know, it's like that, and COVID that has really inspired, right? Like we haven't been out, and it's like even our first event, we got so many cancellations because it was the start, it was like the Omicron, and it was like we thought it was going to be a packed house, so I declined so many people, and then so many people were sick. So it's so nice to finally be you know, getting mask free and back to quote unquote normal, so new normal again. But based on the pop-up, a little bit about me in a way was the Q&A that we had at the end. I felt like, and the feedback was that a lot of people just were so inspired about the conversations that we were having together as a group, and just like being able to talk to one another and please, you know, I encourage you to ask questions, and you can talk about it selfishly, like, I have a business, like, what do you think based on your experience? Anything goes, nothing's off the table. This is to inspire and lift up and rise up each other, because I feel like it's so needed right now, right? Like, you don't know, some of us don't know where to start if we have a side hustle. Some have a side hustle and like, oh my God, like I'm awful at this, how do you X, Y, Z? So all of those types of questions is kind of like what we want to benefit from tonight. So we have a little bit of everything here. We have small business owners, we have people that have a successful running business, we have a guidance counselor. So it's all different types of women. You know, and this is just a representation, this is a representation of, you know, women that have a lot to give. You know, like one of these, I should have my mom, who's had a hair salon business for 55 years. So again, so basically I'm gonna do an intro of myself, and then the panel speakers are all gonna do an intro. I am then gonna moderate and ask questions that they are all somewhat prepared to answer, and then after that we'll jump into the Q&A, which is kind of like I wanna like just do brief bios so that we can really make this more of an interactive, so everybody gets you know, a chance to feel like they're part of the discussion. So without further ado, we can start. And so I just wanted to start the conversation by thanking, like, and having, I don't even know if my mom's watching, hi mom if you are, but thanking my mom, and it's not Mother's Day, but this is Women's Day, Women's Day, and I think of who I want to be for my daughter, and who I am is because of my mom. And I feel like, not until like recently I've been thinking like, wow, like if you don't have issues and if you had a good relationship with your mom, you can consider yourself lucky. And that's like, it was a big awakening for me, because so much, so many issues in the world, and so many people that have problems with family. And I just, I realize how lucky I am now to have a mom that like worked her bleeping butt off to get, things for me. And I didn't have a lot growing up at all. And I look now and I'm like, wow, like Victoria has so much more than I. My daughter has so much more than that as a kid. And like, you don't know what you're doing to your kid, but like, I'm just like, like I hope that she feels how I feel about my mom and her upbringing one day. And I'm doing things now in my life that make me feel uncomfortable, like this. Like my first event, like I was like in the back, like, what are you, like I was so nervous, and I'm still a little nervous tonight. But it's just like putting myself out there to do things that, that I feel like are gonna evolve my being. And, and this is one of them. So I grew up in Rhode Island. I'm a Rhode Island resident. I grew up in Bristol. This is why none of you know me, because Bristol people don't come to this side and vice versa.
We traveled all the way here.
Yes, my friends, I'm like, are you sure? Don't feel obligated. So, but I'm from Bristol, and I went to public schools, went to Salem State University. I always got C's and D's. I was an awful student. Struggled big time, and kind of like was all about the party and the social aspect of school. And then like I look back now and I was like, oh, like I had a magazine club when I was in the 4th grade, and no teacher ever noticed that. And then like I threw them all out because it really wasn't important. And until I graduated from school with business and was in finance for a year, and I was like, debit, credit, like do you debit the credit or you credit the debit? Like I still don't know. But now, then after that, I'm like, I think I like fashion. I was in State Street Global Advisors in Boston for a year after school, and then I told this story last time we met, but I won. My dad picked the season games for the March Madness pool, and I won the whole company pool. And it was a very big pool because it was State Street, so it was huge. And with that, I moved to New York City, not knowing I knew one person that hooked me up with a friend of a friend that had a room. I slept on like a futon, and I had my first job there, and then a second job and a third job. And I met people, and it was super hard to make it there and grow, but I eventually did. I worked my butt off. I was always the first one in, the last to leave. And then I eventually got my own apartment, and I was able to only work my first job. And then fast forward, moved back to Rhode Island, met my husband, and together I started the jewelry industry here. And I didn't realize Rhode Island is the capital of the jewelry world. Mm-hmm. So I was very fortunate to have moved home, not knowing what I was doing, find that, and felt like because they saw the New York on the resume, and I kind of made strides, met my husband, and then we moved back to New York City again, where I continued to work in the jewelry industry. And again, just kind of like working very, very, very hard. I remember one time my mom came to see me, because she owns a hair salon, so she was going, I showed her all the import stores, and I was like, it was a big awakening for me, or realization then, because I was like, oh my God, the last time I took a lunch was the last year you were here. And I was like, okay, maybe this is a little too much. And then my husband and I moved back to Rhode Island when we had our daughter, 5 now. So it was until COVID hit, where I was kind of like I was driving an hour to work, and I had a nanny picking her up from daycare, and then I was just missing time with her. So I just said at that point, like, this is way too much, the traveling, just everything. I was actually in China when COVID broke out. I just traveled a ton. overseas, and I figured, okay, this is like, I know jewelry, maybe it's time that I start my own business and my own line, and like, what better time to invest in myself. So I've since then have had my own line, small business, and it's a roller coaster ride. Some days are amazing. It's like every day, just I question what I'm doing, and some days I'm like, I feel like I'm on top of the world, and some I'm really like, super anxious about every decision that I'm making. But the best part about the Garden City experience was all the people that I've met. And I literally like have met like every one of my new friends that I am inspired by every single day through this experience. So so that's a bit about me. And then I am going to, and so the other thing that I just wanted to say that's on my mind is just really like being true to who we are, right? Like I feel like that's been on just the forefront of my mind. And it's interesting because I feel like on social media, when I am showing up as my authentic self and own it, like not the pretty and trying to show an unfiltered look and saying that I have anxiety and having like the people that have commented or coming forward being like, oh my goodness, I struggle with that too, and just I feel like the world and our community can benefit from just being real and not caring like if you're gonna lose a relationship because of acting like yourself, and just having people surround you that you feel that you are inspired by, and starting to limit, not some people are like so close to you that you can't feel like you can walk away, but like trying to be close to those around you that truly bring out the best in you, and knowing like who your friends are and who you can rely on and count on, and just spending more time with those people. So on that note, we'll get started with the panel. So I think we can just kind of like go down. Melissa, if you could introduce yourself, and we'll start with you and then go down the line.
So I'm Melissa Bellotti. I'm a school counselor by degree and career, but I started a college and career related side hustle, I guess you would call it. I call it College Vibes Consulting. But I focus a lot on the career piece too, because I strive to be the counselor when I work with students. I'm at Portsmouth High School in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, but my goal is to see them. So that's what I tell them all the time. I want to see that you had a magazine club, and I recognize that. Like, and what can you do with that? And come from the perspective of there's no cookie cutter angle you have to go with. Even though society says college, 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 you might not be that kid right now, or you might have a whole other destiny that you're not even thinking about because the culture pigeonholes you in one direction. So with my business on the side, I do have clients who just use me for exploring what they want to do, and like really having those real conversations with families and parents about different avenues that may or may not be traditional, in addition to doing all the traditional stuff. COVID actually helped me really get busy, which is difficult to balance because I do take my job seriously during the day, so it's really difficult for me. I spend probably every day from like 3 to 11 working with clients after school at this point. So Allie was asking me about my website. I'm like, I am word of mouth right now. I was like,
I'm like, then you can't come.
I want to expand and like do some cool stuff and like work with different avenues, like maybe in a whole group setting. Like I tried something different this year where I just invited students to come and work on Common Apps so they weren't going to fight with their parents every 5 minutes. Like it helped avoid the fight. That seemed to be the biggest feedback we were getting at the high school, and then in the high school setting. We tried it, and then I started doing it on my own. So I'm going to come up with more creative ways, but it's something I want to keep doing and growing. I just don't know how to keep the balance. I'm realistic. I own a house. Like I am on my own, and I don't want to lose my house, and I want my lifestyle. So, getting rid of the day job. I admire everyone who's like, doing the full-on entrepreneurial hustle to keep going. I just don't know how to get there yet, but I will figure that out and see what happens, one day at a time. So that's where I am with this.
Okay, Laura.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Afonso. I am the creator of Buns and Bites, which is a food blog. It lives on Instagram mostly, but it is a combination of food and booties. Who doesn't love those two things? So it sounded like a really weird idea when I thought of it in 2016. I was a graduate assistant at Providence College. I was sitting in an office talking to my boss, and I was like, I have this really weird idea. I'm on Instagram. I see a lot of fitness. I see a lot of girls. I see a lot of butts on Instagram. I see a lot of food on Instagram. How come nobody is capitalizing on this and putting these two things together? So I was like, this would be a really fun, cheeky idea to do. I thought I was really crazy. I was like, this is
Pun intended.
pun intended, fully pun intended, but I thought it was kind of a long shot. And in my mind, I was like, I could start this and it would flop and it would be really embarrassing. And I'd have all of my friends and family being like, Laura with the weird butt page. What a weird concept that was. And if it failed, it would suck. But then I thought, and so I put it off for a really long time. And eventually I was like, no, I want to have fun. I'm going to do this. And I went for it, and somehow, miraculously, people liked it and it took off. So now I'm coming up on my 5th year of doing Buns and Bites. It is my full passion. I love doing it. I love to go out to eat and try new things. I'm from Rhode Island, and luckily Rhode Island has so much to offer in the food scene. So there's just constantly new restaurants, bars, things to do in Providence and the whole state. So, but in addition to that, I do many things. I feel like I'm a woman going to the Kentucky Derby, picking out which hat she's wearing, because I do a lot. So I'm also a realtor with my husband. So we are in the trenches of this crazy competitive market. So if anybody here has been looking or has sold their house, you already know how it is. I'm in that with you. I also co-own a clothing line with my partner and my confidant Jackie over here. I literally wouldn't be able to function without you on a day-to-day basis. But we just sell clothes that are comfortable, that we feel good in. Yeah, and I'm also a social media manager, so I'm all over the internet. I'm just like constantly on Instagram, on the phone, on the email. So yeah, that is a little bit about me and what I do.
Thank you. That's fabulous.
Yes.
Cassandra.
Hi,
was
everyone.
listening.
That's me. So I see a lot of familiar faces in this room. So if you don't know me, my name is Cassandra Rochefort, and I own Glistening Goddesses. It's a spray tanning salon in Johnston, if you've never heard of it. So I started off, glistening was actually my side hustle in 2011. So I'm actually going on my 10th year in brick and mortar business, 11 years in business. I started off after high school I graduated, and I decided I wanted to be a court stenographer. So I did in the classroom closed captioning for deaf and hard of hearing students at URI, CCRI, and RIC. And I loved it so much, but I just felt like I wanted something, like I was bored almost, like I wanted, something else to do. So I started spray tanning. I made a website myself. I made a logo myself. I'm not saying it was good, but I did it. And I don't know what I did, but it worked. And people were calling me, and I was like, all right, I'll go to your house. And I set up in the room, the bathroom. I mud sprayed some of you in your house. And then I would clean up the shower, and then I would go, and then I was like, this is like catching on. Okay. So then there was an opportunity to open a place in Johnston on Killingley Street. And it happened, and now it's about 7 or 10th lease at that place. I know, so it's been a lot. There's been a lot in between that though. And then actually this summer, my husband and I are opening Rhode Island's first and only dry bar franchise in Chapel View, right next to Panera, so that is very exciting. And I'm a mom. I have an 18-month-old daughter named Selene.
With the cutest cheeks.
She does.
That's
So that's me.
Perfect. Thank you. And Camilla.
Hi guys, I'm Camilla. I'm so sorry for those of you who were here last time and you're going to hear my intro again. I went to Suffolk University and studied, I got a double bachelor's degree in biology and psych with a minor in chem. I was on track to go to pre-med school, and I was just going to go and potentially be a pediatrician, and that was the whole plan. I kind of rattled some feathers with my parents and decided I was going to try something else. I decided to go be a chemist, and after some incidents with acid and having it spill up in my face, my dad was like, you're not going to work there anymore. So I found my current job. So I am now a medical software developer at a company in Massachusetts, and I've been there now for 3 years. So I I'm a big advocate for women in STEM and being able to represent that, but as my side hustle, because I feel like everyone's got to have a side hustle, my side hustle is actually social media. I do run TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Much like Laura, I also do food, but I do food and I do other things. I don't have a booty, so I can't really showcase that. Kind of flat chested my whole life. So I am traveling now with my friend Lupe, who does Roadie Foodie. Our plan, I have a van where we're gonna actually take this full time and travel the country and be able to try foods from other cities and states. And that's just part of the plan.
Perfect. So, and then I'm gonna do some Q&A before we have it interactive. So, Camilla, let's start with you. So, basically, I've been thinking just to ask you, how do you balance it? And I mean, I feel like a lot from the last time we met was like, you know, focus on your TikTok, but like you have a full-time job, and I always forget that because we talk all the time. Like I told you this, but like after we were like monetize, and I was like, okay, we have to have a whole conversation about what you said about monetization. But how do you balance your main job with your seems like a full-time social job?
So I think one of the hardest things is that whenever we try to introduce something new, we always try to find that time slot, and you're like, that doesn't exist. I don't have that extra hour to go to the gym. But then somehow you make time and you set an hour aside and you kind of make it work for a few weeks, and then it just becomes part of your routine. And that's just something that I did with my side hustle as well. It's just, it's something where I try to monetize my time and monetize my efforts so that I can work my full-time job, still do a good job, and still be able to do something that I'm really passionate about and would love to make a full-time career. It's something that I've been really working hard over the pandemic. I was kind of devoting maybe about 20% of my time initially, and now I definitely do split up my time where I treat it almost like a full-time job. And that's when you start to treat your side hustle like a full-time job, that's when it benefits you the most, and that's when you're able to actually capitalize on it.
Got it. Cassandra, so if you could just walk us through a time that was like really hard when you were launching your business.
Oh, launching it, okay.
Or just,
I was gonna say 2020.
okay. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then, so what did you do to overcome that? And like, how did you maneuver through that?
So, okay, that's a great question. So 2020, I actually had 3 locations. I had one in Attleboro and I had one in Providence and Johnston. The main one was always been in Johnston. We actually expanded that one in 2017, so we doubled the size of it because it was pretty small. So I actually downsized it, streamlined, and I was like, okay, like I can't pay 3 rents right now. Like no one can come in. We're not allowed to come in. We were closed. So I actually decided to close Attleboro and Providence and just work on one and just streamline and pivot my business to be, focused on that.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, so when, everything was like shut down, like how did you, like, and you downsized, like when you were at that one location, did you have to, you closed permanently for a while?
From March
Right.
23rd to June 1st, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget those dates.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like so many.
And it was, so in the spray tanning industry, the busiest months of the year are April, May, and June. So about 33% of my revenue is in those 3 months. So we were able to open in June, and June was actually good, but we were closed for all of April and May. And, people were starting to realize that it was coming, and they started canceling weddings and events
Yeah.
in
right.
March too. Yeah.
Which is your big thing.
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah, it was scary, but.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump to Melissa for a sec. So Melissa, I obviously know you as a friend and know that you have so many people have with COVID, and experience loss. So can you just walk us through, your experience as it pertains to that?
Well, for me, COVID was probably the blessing and the curse. So my husband had brain cancer. He made it a while though. He had an interesting one that he lived a lot longer than the norm. So he made it about 9 years before. And the last 18 months of his life is pretty atrocious. But up to that point, he was doing pretty well. He was 43 when he passed away. I just turned 41, I think. So COVID, because I'm a school teacher in the education system, put me at home. So I had precious time that I didn't know I was going to get. and that was a gift, a huge gift. Because he was pretty good. He went into hospice officially, like we knew things were not good. Shortly after COVID started, so I think it was a date in like March where we knew he had to stop taking whatever he was taking because it was making him sicker, and then in April we kind of knew they were going to say there's nothing else we can do for you. So it was just a crazy experience, but I kind of looked at COVID as the blessing in that aspect. He ended up passing away August 20th, 2020, just when things were kind of picking up again. So he actually got the funeral he wanted. So people always ask me, like, do you wish you didn't know? Are you glad you knew? I 100% love that I knew that he was dying. Like, you get to talk about everything. There was nothing left unsaid. I don't have regrets. There wasn't that guilt that a lot of people I've learned live with over time. So that was part of it. And like, I always say left me with parting gifts. Like going through what I did with him changed my whole perspective on life and how I approach life. I am so much more laid back. I also took off 40 pounds. I ate my way through his illness. I just started refocusing on being healthy, engaging with people, and really not sweating small stupid stuff. Like, I know it's like the generic cliche thing to say, but you really do. When you go through that, nothing bothers you. You're like, what are you mad at? Like, what? And then it was like reclaiming my life was kind of interesting because it took probably like, they always say the year, but it was a good year of just like trying to figure out how do I live alone? What am I gonna do with my house? Fortunately I was in a financial position to keep it for now, like, and go with the flow. So that was a positive. But it changes you, and then people are weird about being the 41-year-old widow, like, and no one thinks that, right? So like, I remember I went to a new dentist and I put down, I had checked off, it said married, single, or widowed or whatever, and I checked off widowed, but I still had my ring on. I hadn't been ready to take off my ring yet. And the dentist automatically was like, oh, they put this in the wrong way in here. It says that you're a widow, because she saw my ring, and automatically went to go change it to married again. Weird stuff like that happened, or like, I was actually away with Allie, and we met a lot of people, and they were like, oh, where's your husband? And you're like, and then you don't want to make it awkward, because I really wasn't awkward about it, but everybody else gets awkward because you're like, and how old are you again? Like, so, but that's adjusted with time. So that's kind of where it was. And then fortunately I was really busy. So even with the COVID piece, kids were still applying to schools. I did take a leave of absence that was also much needed. I had some surgery like that I need to get done too because I hadn't taken care of myself in so long. But bottom line, like I did what I needed to do, and I had that gift as well, time that a lot of people don't in order to take that time off and like heal. So I genuinely went back to work a whole person. Like those kids get me, like it's not pieces of me, the broken pieces, and I value that as well. So, and I'm never weird, but I try to normalize death a little bit more too, because people are so freaking weird about it. But, it's where we're all gonna end up, I guess. Like, it just changed that too. And I think I was there when he passed away, and it was quite an experience that I don't really know how to like explain to people who've never experienced that or saw it in that way. And I mean, he was suffering at that point too, it was time. But it's life changing. It's different. It gives you a different perspective. So.
You are probably the strongest person I know, and I got to witness her in Aruba. I was like kid free for 2 weeks, and she was there with me, and I felt like that was a moment that I will never forget. Seeing you be able to live that, and some of the sunsets we saw, like he was there. It was like not even a question. We were taking pictures, and like orbs were in the pictures, and it was just a pretty magical moment.
It was probably the first time I had fun in 18 months.
I mean, she was with me.
Like,
Absolutely. Okay, Laura. So, buns and bites, right? So, if somebody is interested and wanted to model like what you're doing, what is, based on women's inspiration today, what would you tell them to even do, and how to get started, and what could they learn from you?
I would say that if you wanted to start any kind of blog, it could be anything, or any kind of like side hustle business, is to basically formulate your plan, have your vision, like really think about what you want to be doing, and just prepare yourself and just jump in. I know that there's like always going to be the voice of self-doubt, like I was saying, like I put it off wanting to do buns and bites for a long time because I was very nervous about what people would think. And honestly, with social media, everybody thinks something. And if you're gonna let that control what you do, you're never gonna do anything. Because today, everything is out, everyone's, we see each other's faces every day. I see Cassandra's face, I see Camilla's face all the time. So if you're gonna allow what people are gonna perceive you to be to keep you from, living your real life outside of the internet, then you're never really gonna, I don't wanna say you're never gonna do anything, but it's gonna keep you from doing what you wanna do. So, what I did with Buns and Bites was I read a self-help book I'll never forget. It was Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass. And I finished the last page and I said, I'm going to Best Buy right now and I'm going to buy a camera because I'm going to need to take pictures of food. So I bought a camera and I went to Carrie Cupcake and I went to Providence Bagel and I literally was taking pictures. My husband was helping me, like, Regina George's mom and Mean Girls, like, you're great. I was taking pictures of my butt with bagels and someone happened to be sitting next to me who was like, what on earth are you doing? And I explained to him, listen, this sounds really weird, but I'm starting this blog and, Chris from Providence Bagel has actually been one of my longest supporters because he was one of the first people I talked to about it. But, I gathered a bunch of content, made sure that I had enough stuff to post every day for like 2 months. That way I could really come out swinging. And since then I've not had a lull. It's been like full steam ahead. So if you can have your vision and just commit to what you want to do and just who cares what people think of you? Because for every one person who's gonna have some little shitty comment about what you're doing, there's gonna be 100 people behind you saying, yes, I love it, keep going, and they're gonna be encouraging you and they're gonna love to support you. So, if you're just have no fear about jumping in, basically, is what I would say to do.
I love that. And I think too, being ready to fail, right?
Yeah.
I'm still failing, but failing forward is one of the terms that I used last meeting, and just being able to welcome that because it's going to happen, it's inevitable, that it's not all going to be not just sensation, you're going to have setbacks, and just to almost welcome that because it's everybody experiences it, but people don't really talk about it. So Melissa, I want to talk about just high school, right? And pandemic and in the experience of, and obviously there's so many different things going on, but what do you feel it has, it evolved from the kids today that you're trying to put a positive spin on and trying to motivate them to get through all this?
It's hard because the kids really don't have any resiliency skills is really what is the word I would use for it. Coming back full time, the masks coming off is a game. In 2 days of not wearing masks in school, the difference of the kids is crazy. They actually are coming, the truant one showed up, and they're putting more effort into being successful, because we were all talking about where all these kids have been missing for 56 days, we've been sending an officer to the house and all of a sudden they're in school. The mask came off, they feel normalized again. I don't know what we have to come up with something though to help them. There are gaps in their background, I can't tell you how many kids came down and openly said I can't take such and such class because I've been cheating for 2 years. We're gonna see some fallout for this for a while. The social stuff, we do a lot of social things at the high school. I think that's keeping them afloat and just being with their friends, with the rules being gone and, just the fact that they can walk down the halls wherever they want, sit with everyone in the cafeteria. I'm hoping that will start getting them moving forward again and planning. They're all looking for jobs now. They're all coming down talking about summer plans and different things. So hopefully that will come into play, but in terms of education, we have our work cut out for us, and I have no idea how we're going to come up with ideas to better support our students in this mess of things. Plus the anxiety, there's a lot of anxiety, the unknowns, there was a lot of loss. We're busy, very busy, and the waits for therapists in the communities is out of control. 3 months, 6 months, we're not taking anyone, and everyone wants a quick fix, so even when they go, they think, well, I'll go talk to somebody for 3 days and feel better. We have to work through that, and I just don't know what to do with it. And, social media is the blessing and the curse too. They're looking at what everybody else is doing and then comparing, and they are cruel to each other and mean more than ever online than before. So that's another piece that we have to address and adjust.
And there are kids coming up to you, like, talking about being open with their online presence in the comments that are not technically their school friends, but it's like a monster of the world.
Like
coming
everything,
at them.
yes. And they like Snap is huge even because they say it goes away, but they all screenshot everything. So like it's not going anywhere, and that, you know, there's a lot of, that would be the biggest issue, I think, in terms of the social interactions that are negative and positive. I mean, there's a lot of positive that happens on there, but you know, there's a lot of drama based on what was posted where and what was said and who commented and that kind of stuff. So it's still gonna perpetuate the whole situation.
All right, Cassandra, new business. Can you share some of the skinny of like what's gonna go on? I know it's like right across
It's
the
right
street.
across the street, so does anyone know what Dry Bar is?
Yes.
A lot of people do. So it is actually, I've got this question once, it is the actual Dry Bar. So it's the Dry Bar franchise, so we're gonna be right next to Panera. So it's Panera, Bank Newport, there's like an empty space, and then us and Cordova used to be over there. So it'll be open hopefully end of June, early July, this summer. So Dry Bar is, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's no cuts, no colors, just blow-outs. So it's a blow dry, but it's a whole luxury experience. Like you go in, and if you know, you've been, you get a glass of champagne or a coffee, you can bring your laptop if you're doing some work, bring your friends, bridal parties, whatever. So, and it's Rhode Island's first and only one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is
And it's been, it sounds like, oh yeah, you're opening it, but we've been doing this since 2019. We're actually supposed to open
yeah, you would
right where Sunglass Hut is, everyone can see it over here. We're supposed to sign release in March of 2020 where Sunglass Hut is, and it didn't work out. Because we were just like, no. You know, I was shut down at listening, and
Right.
it wasn't the right time. But then, you know, that got rented, and actually Chapel View is gonna be better. We can get a bigger space.
And speaking from experience, like with me, with just parking, it's annoying. It
Yeah.
can be annoying here. So I'm going to say it's my favorite place to shop, but
I
it
know.
definitely is. You're driving, and I mean, then you know you have people that just want to run in and have it be easy.
Yeah.
So I feel personally that I'm thankful you're
I
here.
agree.
I was a big customer in New York City, so I
Oh, you were?
Yes. Yep, I lived on 75th, and there was one like on the next block over.
Yeah,
So that had opened when I was there, so I was.
it's the best. It's truly the best. I mean, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. All right, so does anybody have any questions to kind of get the conversation a little bit more interactive, or I can continue to go?
I'm gonna move over so that.
Alex?
I'll start.
Yeah.
So I love you. You've seen me naked. My husband followed you before I did. And I'm a therapist, so that's pretty close to that. Anyway, hello. I'm Alex Morse, the creative gene, balloons, flowers, although your social media following. I feel like I've busted my ass for years and years and years, and I'm in year 5, and I'm not even at 6,000, and I go on damn television every Monday. So I'm like, how do you, I've never done a giveaway or like paid to be part of a giveaway or paid for followers, any of that stuff. I just try to do it authentically, and I have found that in the past year I've gotten the most following literally by talking about mental health here and there. I have a mom who has a lot of pride and didn't really believe in that. I'm married to a police sergeant who is very black, very white, there's no gray, and I'm all gray. So it was kind of hard for me to like unleash the whole anxiety, ADHD, depression thing out on, you know, social media. So it's like the second I just opened up about a little bit of the anxiety piece of it, people, just like you said, Allie, were reaching out to me like, oh my God, I would never peg you for somebody that goes through this, but I go through it too, so thank you so much for being genuine and honest, because I felt alone and now I don't. And I'm like, okay, if one person can say that, they heard that from me, and I was being honest about that I felt shitty that day or whatever it was, that made a difference in my life. So I feel like the true authentic self is the way to go. I mean, everybody's different, and my mom's still like, oh God, the anxiety on Instagram. And I'm like, I know, but too bad, people go through it. Like, you don't show yours, I show mine. But what could you guys give for suggestions as far as growing it authentically, or growing it in general, without paying for any of that stuff?
I have something to say, but does anyone want to go first? Okay, so full transparency, like you're already doing it right. One of the things that like I noticed that helped me grow personally, just because I got banned on, shadow banned on Instagram so many times, is following different avenues. You're not on TikTok, I know you're not on TikTok.
I am, it's just my 9-year-old takes over with her. And I'm like, don't you dare post on my James, there's like 100 something drafts, but I just the other day put 5 up because you called me and told me.
That's one of the biggest things is monetizing on other platforms. So start going on other platforms, especially since yours, like, for you, you actually have a business that you're trying to grow.
Right.
So I would say start up on TikTok. Like, TikTok is it's one of the easiest ways to grow. And they're not going to directly translate to Instagram by any means, but it'll be a good way for you to at least get your name out there, for people to see your creations, and then for every, let's say 100, even if you get 2 that go that way, or even look at your profile and not even follow you, that's still more views and more engagement that way.
Like Gary Vee says, don't judge yourself or any single one of them until you do 500.
It's crazy to me though that you can post something on Instagram Reels. I had the dumbest 10-second video about a catfishing filter. It got 5.2 million.
Yeah.
These same ones on TikTok, and it got 4 views total. Oh my god, it makes no sense. Makes no sense.
It's totally different.
And everything else, I mean, it's not.
One of her videos got her on like what, Jimmy Fallon? What was it? Yeah, Jimmy Fallon. Like it's a prime example that certain things. Go on. I'm gonna call you on. Like, some things just stick and some things they don't, and it's one of those things. Her video was surprising that there's twins, and like the grandparents were like, "There's twins." And they were
oh my god, I saw that. I know that video.
Everyone knows that video. Everyone knows that video.
I love that video.
And so it just depends. Like it depends on what time of day, what kind of people watch your stuff. Like it, and then like I said, just full transparency and just putting everything out there. Like I get the most engagement when I talk about my stomach problems. Like of all things, I'm like I do food and I have a full-time job and I do fitness, like I do all this other stuff, but I get the most engagement when I talk about the fact that I have ulcerative colitis and it sucks.
Which is honestly like that's what I'm saying, authentic self. Like when I learned that about you, that you struggle with anxiety, like I liked you more. Because you're but not that it's like but you're relatable.
Like that explains.
It's relatability. And just making you like different from the rest, like and you stand out because you're normalizing that and then you're being you, and that so many people struggle with that. Can we talk about monetization for a minute? Can you just explain what that is? Because I know like my friend Robin and I were like having drinks. She's like, I mean like what is it even? Right?
So monetizing is pretty much, I'm gonna use the word making money, but like I mean that very lightheartedly, but like kind of like profiting off of all aspects of your life, if that's what you choose to do. So one of the things that I want to do is grow on social media. So that means not only posting me at the gym, but like my makeup routine, my wake up routine, my skincare routine, like anything that I do in the day that someone else might find beneficial or helpful to them, I'll post about. One of the things I was just talking about my stomach. So like I talk about freely what works for me and what cleared up my eczema, and it's just these are the things that people like to look for, and they want to see other people that are also dealing with similar issues and aren't just highlighting the most perfect parts of their lives, and that's what makes them relatable. So when I say monetizing your life, it's just putting anything and everything out there, and making yourself a more relatable character.
I love that. Thank you.
Anything.
Okay, anybody else? Questions? Okay. Val.
So just one quick thing about the monetization. I think that monetization, especially when it comes to like a social media platform, it has a lot to do with knowing the algorithm of what is trending. So even if it's something that you really don't want to do, jumping on the trend and knowing what is trending and following the algorithm and knowing the time is what's going to build your social media. But that's not my job. I wanted to kind of comment what you said, how you said it's hard for you to look at women like myself that I solely earn my income through my social media, and it was hard for you to see like how we do it. And the story that you told about your husband, I don't know how you do that, so I give you props for that. But my question's for Buns and Buds. My question is, do you feel that your people skills determines your potential success?
Like your social, like your
like your people skills and.
No, I mean I think that a large part of like it's very easy to be somebody on the internet and to talk to people when you're not in person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I try to be friendly and charismatic. That's just like a part of my personality. So when I meet people in real life, mm-hmm. it's easy to make new friends and to make new connections. But when you're on Instagram, it's, you know, you can put a filter on and go on live and like be talking to 100 people that you don't know, and it's just, it's like you're behind a screen. So it's easier to kind of just like be like melt away and kind of like be more comfortable in a way, if that makes sense.
Versus like the one-on-one.
Yeah, but I mean like, and this kind of also applies to your question. I think that like a big part of growing on social media is collaborating with other people.
Yeah.
So that being said, like I grew Buns and Bites over the years because I connected with Alright Food Fights, and I would have girls come in, I'd have girls model with me, and you know, then that girl reposts on her page, and then her followers see it, and then they say, what's this? So it's like, if you can be personable in real life, and you can be personable on the internet, like it's only gonna be a win-win. I mean, I think that personality is gonna show through on your social media anyways, so I think that that's, yeah, it is important. I don't know if I answered it, but I think that like, connecting with people, like, and but like having a community of people that you're connected with is really gonna help grow. Like if you're gonna be working on a balloon arch and you have flowers to go with it, and then you two are in cahoots with each other and you can help each other grow, I think that it builds you both up. It's beneficial to both people. And I think that like through collaboration, that's a really big component of growing everyone's social. Like it helps both of you. So
Yeah, I've literally done collabs straight out the gate.
Yes.
Like the second I started, but like you were saying too, I've neglected, I have YouTube. I mean, I haven't posted in years, so it's
I'm
got 4
live right
views.
now. So I was like, this is great for watching. I don't even know. I
Come
can't even see it.
So I totally neglected TikTok and YouTube. My husband calls me today and he's like, oh, you know what you should be on? It's YouTube. I'm like, okay, go on YouTube, look up my business, I'm there. It's just slightly pathetic. Because I put all my heart and soul into
Instagram.
After COVID, I no longer can complete a sentence properly in public, so just bear with me. But yeah, so I neglect the other two, but.
I saw this little tidbit that if you look up someone's name and like it takes until the last letter to see them pop up, like if you follow them, then it means you're shadow banned. So it's like, it's very likely that the stunt of your growth is shadow banned. And like at that point, you just need to like try to break it by posting consistently, having your friends like hype it up and Oh, shadow ban? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so shadow ban essentially is when Instagram stops pushing out your content because it's like, you know what? I've kind of had enough of like there's no actual reason that they've posted like you will be shadow banned because of this, but they stop promoting your stuff so it doesn't get seen by people other than your direct followers. So when you're trying to grow, no one else is actually seeing your stuff. So that's what shadow ban is.
And how do you know you become shadow banned?
So it's when, like one of the key components, I just learned this literally yesterday, but if you type in like your friend's name, or so, say like I follow you and I type in your name, and you don't show up right away, and it takes until the last letter, then that person's shadow banned. Yeah.
Okay, let's do a fun down the line question. Name someone that has inspired you and why.
Just in life in general, like a general life question. I think my sister, like she is a hustler and she's crazy and like she would be here. She's social media. She could get followers. She works in medical sales. She has 2 kids. She holds it down. And she's just, you know, on the go and she has her act together, like, unbelievably. And she is trendy and amazing, and I would say she would probably be the one I would pick over me. Yeah.
Only child. Like,
we didn't get along until I was 25. I was literally 25, and then all of a sudden I knew she existed. We even went to rival high schools. I mean, we just never got along. Yeah.
I would have a hard time pinpointing one person, but if I think about like where I draw my inspiration from, I almost get like a little bit of all of the best parts of all of the people who are around me. Like I say Cassandra is the busiest woman in Rhode Island. Every time I she is boom, boom, boom. So it's like I see Cassandra, she's hustling. I see Jamie, mind your manicure, like she's super mom, I'm a 5, like crushing nails. Jackie, like literally like supporting me by the day. So I get like my inspiration. I see all of these like sick ass women around me, like also like cheering me on. So I feel like they all kind of like give me a little bit of the formula that I need to like be like, okay, I can do this. So it's a team effort.
That's great.
I was gonna say something similar.
Oh.
All, no, really, honestly, all because it was a question that we got, and I thought about it, and I was like, I can't think of what, it's literally all the beautiful women that I've met. Joan, Katie back there, like every single person that I've met in glistening, you know, Jacqueline, actually I met Demetria at glistening, but that was my pre-glistening days I met Jacqueline, but
We have some good conversations naked, like, a lot comes out.
I'm part of your life for, you know, just to go for your friend's birthday for the weekend, or like, you know, your Instagram content, a part of your daily life, or whatever it is, or you're getting engaged that weekend. Like every single woman that has this little piece of me too. Little goddesses. They're all in here.
So cute. Alright. For me, I would love to say my mom. And she's watching this, so she's gonna be like, "You're just saying that." But my mom's an immigrant. My mom came to this country 30 years ago, and she literally came from a beautiful, wealthy background. My dad came from literally nothing, like villages. There's holes. You barter sheep for food. So they came from such opposing backgrounds, and for them to come to this country, and my mom came by herself before my dad could even come. So she got her first credit card by herself, got herself an apartment by herself. She was 25 at the time. So yeah, she was younger than me, and I can't imagine going to a different country, starting from scratch, leaving housemaids and cooks and a mother who, my mom's from Iran, or Iran, that's how you say it. But my grandma was like the manager of an oil company, and oil's huge in the Middle East. So she came from everything, and she started at nothing. And she was diagnosed with lupus, so she was coming here to find medicine at the same time. So she overall is just a badass. But yeah, she came to this country and started a life for herself, brought my dad over. 9 months later, I was born, and they like really got to work. But yeah, so she's just definitely my inspiration, and I aspire to be even half of the person that she is.
And she's so cute.
She's so cute.
We
She's
love
5
your
foot
mom.
nothing. If you've seen my mom, she's 5 foot nothing with curly hair. Every time we've had one of these, like, I just wish she was here, and she wants to be here. But we have a liquor store represent. I would say where it is, and I'll say it after, but I'm live and I don't want people to know. But yeah, we have a liquor store, and I'll just shameless plug it later. If you need any booze.
Any comments, feedback, questions from anyone in the group?
No, I just wanted to make a comment. I like that all of your pages cater to your audience, because without your clients, you really don't have a business. And I like that, Allie, you do the same thing. You do a really good job of collaborating and really catering, because it really is about your audience and your clients, right? So if they don't like you, they're not buying from you. And I can honestly say, like, I tan at Glistening Goddess, you know, I refer her tons of people that would never get naked. I like the other pages, Buns and Bites. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had the confidence to show my ass like that. They really cater.
Let's go. Anytime.
I'm like,
I
I like that they really talk to their people, you know, like you really know your target audience. So it shows that you're not talking to yourself in the mirror. Like you really do care about what you're eating, you know, how your jeans fit, how the girl's gonna feel at the wedding because her legs are tan, the lifestyle. Like you can feel the energy. You could be having a stressful day and you go onto one of your pages and you're like, wow, she's in the car like a normal person having a meltdown, you know? And so I like all of their pages.
Thank you.
Commend you all.
So, I know.
And are you the mom of 5? You're the mom of 5?
No, I have no
Who is
children.
I
should not be the mom of
You're the mom of 5. Okay, I'm sorry.
So I know more so Cassandra and Laura that you guys do this, but how do you separate your personal and your business Instagram and like consistently, like in a way, make them cohesive?
I don't. Well, I keep my personal page private.
Okay.
I like love to post my husband and my stepson and my friends, my dogs, like, and I'll just like rant on my and you watch my stories, I'm always like ranting about something. But I like to keep my personal page private and like I share like intimate moments from my wedding that I don't need like random people like on TikTok who are in Washington state across the country to like see, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I like to keep like, obviously my followers on Buns and Bites are like my friends and I love them, but I want to like be able to also have a social media that like it's just a peek into my life.
I don't have no way I could start a YouTube channel. Like, there's no way I could do that. And I did that. And then it just becomes part of your routine. So set yourself up so that you can at least stick to it for a couple weeks and you will make it work. Like, that's probably my best advice. And if that doesn't work, that's when you sit down and you start scheduling the heck out of everything. Because there's apps for Instagram, YouTube has its own platform where you can do it through there, and then TikTok. I don't know if there's a way to do it on TikTok, but you can record a bunch of drafts and then spend like 30 seconds to just hit like post.
Yeah.
So find what works for you, because what works for me might not work for you. What works for me doesn't even work for me. I'm just being honest.
So in addition to that question, so like for me, like right now where I'm at is like I know I have to, in order, like I'm nowhere on TikTok, so like they say, like experts say like 20 TikToks a day. So, but
You'd never put your phone down.
So when
but my question really to the group, and this will be maybe a different answer for each profession or just in general, how do you avoid burnout from all of these things?
I mean, we are not social media machines. We're like an algorithm is it's a mythical thing. It's like you don't want to upset the algorithm. We're human beings, and I mean, like, to make 20 TikToks a day, you would literally just have to be TikToking around the clock. Even if you made like 10-second TikToks,
That's what I do.
2020 was like my devoted job,
Yeah.
and I got so burned out from it.
it's crazy, and then you get sick of it. You don't like Buns and Bites makes me so happy. So like I don't want to get, and I don't get sick of it because I don't like literally only make Buns and Bites posts. Like I make my post, like, you know, I'll make a few posts a week. Maybe I'll post a reel that I made. Like I make a reel when I go to a restaurant, and I post in my story all the time. Stories are easy. I'll reshare things, or I'll be out and I'll be taking pictures of things while I'm there. But to be like, I'm obsessed with like having to be like pressuring yourself to make content is like serious, and I just think that it's I don't think it's that serious to have to do.
Right.
I don't think it's worth it. So I mean, you just do what you can. Do what you can. To like have to pressure yourself to make 20 TikToks is like way too much. It's way
You
too much.
lose your quality then too.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
doing so many,
exactly.
it's so
I'm
hard to like keep
And
it
it's
the same.
noticeable.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. I'm big like on quality over quantity. Like I would rather like Jackie takes beautiful photos of all the food that I eat. Like I could just take like an iPhone picture, but I would rather have like lots of like nice quality content rather than me just going to 20 restaurants this week and just taking click, and then blasting out content. Like, no, people really like to engage with like beautiful, crisp photos, and like that matters to me. So I mean, it could be
with
very
real content, and Laura makes genuine connections with everyone that she works with. And so I just want to say, I've never been a social media person. I also have COVID brain, and someone here fed me champagne. So my words come around. I am the mom of 5. I'm the mom of 5. I've never been one for social media, or I get my followers going. I'll have people say to me, "You need more reels. You need more content." I'm like, do it for me. I don't have time for that. So before COVID, I probably had 1,100 followers. And I was also a traveling single mom of 5. And I would say it's not about who's following me, it's about who I'm following.
Yeah.
That was what was important. And so with 1,100 followers, I've done some pretty kick-ass things from 2014 to 2020. And then in 2020, I stepped off the plane from the biggest show in my career, and I was like, this is my year, like this is my year, I'm gonna do it. But then COVID, right? So I never ever envisioned that I would open up a studio here in Rhode Island, plant my feet here. But because of my relationship with Laura, which started, I've known her husband like 20 plus years. He went to high school. My sister were kind of like old and stuff. So because I knew him and she started Buns and Bites, my thing was I do nails for like editorial and fashion and all that. So it's who I'm following, not who's following me. I said to him, she can't have those nails in those pictures.
I
like
had
that.
terrible nails.
I can't let that happen. I hadn't even met her yet, and I said,
Nothing wrong with like ugly nails.
Right. So we built up this friendship, and I never knew that like that friendship, me doing something that I loved for her, was gonna lead to her doing. She believed in me, doing something for me. And when I tell you, with 2,200 followers, that's all I have. You know. Not only has my work been in the centerfold of Vogue magazine on Kylie Jenner, and I've done 4 or 5 dozen Fashion Week shows, but I planted my feet here in Rhode Island now, and I did because I made connections with the people. I'm following the right people. It's not about who's following me, and that works for, you know, influencers. I'm no influencer, but that's what works for me. So maybe that might be what works for you more than finding those to follow you, but because Laura makes those genuine connections. I have Sophie that sits at my nail table. I have Sam that sat at my nail table. Not only does Jackie sit at my nail table, but I could get like half naked in front of her and take pictures. Like I feel comfortable. So I made these real connections, and that's because Laura genuinely connects with people she works with. So when you're looking at Buns and Bites, she's not just stepping into any restaurant taking photos and pictures because, oh, there's a restaurant, let's go. They want her there.
Right.
And she believes in what her content is, what her and Jackie film. And I thank you for that. Because you believe in me, and because you believed in me, I was able to open up my studio and start to plant my feet here in Rhode Island. And at least 50% of my clientele is because they believe, I mean, Laura can say, I went and ate dirt, and they're like, where's that gourmet dirt at? I went gourmet dirt. So I thank you for that. And so sometimes it's not about who's following you, but it's about who you're following and making that genuine connection. So thank you.
You know what, too, you're so
And also
right.
that followers does not equate to customers.
I was gonna say
It definitely doesn't.
Absolutely, right?
2,200 followers, and my books are so full.
And
Right.
I'm saying-
That doesn't
Don't
matter
make me
how
no
many
reels.
followers
No more reels, boys. So yeah, so sometimes you have to look at it a whole different way, that stop chasing something that might not be what's gonna work for you.
You're so right, because even your comment about the quantity versus quality,
Yeah.
like I do work with Christmas Tree Shop, Party City,
Right.
Sam's Club.
Right.
Like I do work with these corporate businesses, and they want my stuff for them. So it's
Yeah.
like, what are you chasing?
Right.
You have a full ass
Yeah.
workload,
Yeah.
and you have, you know, a local TV segment,
That's
and
it.
like, what am I chasing? This 10K is in my head. That's what's the
it.
problem.
That's it. Same with my
And
cousin
comparison
Ann.
game,
She
too.
owns one of the most successful barber shops in the state of Rhode Island, and the Patriots players come driving to her barber shop to get their hair cut. And it's not about, again, who's following her. I mean, of course, like that gets noticed, but they make sure you follow the right people, make those right genuine connections. They have to be genuine.
It's true.
And
It's not
so-
chasing the 10K. Like I have contacts
Right,
and networking
right.
that I need,
Can I
and it's
just say
reciprocal.
that
It's
a lot of,
reciprocal.
if you're gonna look at social media, you have to take everything that you see on social media with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah.
So you
For
can
sure.
say, well, this person has 100,000 followers. Oh my God,
Right.
that person might have bought them.
Yeah,
Or that person
exactly.
might have like how like you could just like post something and then like go viral and then like that's it. Then you just grew 100,000 and then. But how many of those people are like gonna come in and be a customer?
Exactly.
Like if you've got 1,000 followers and 990 of them are interested in buying what you're selling, that's way more valuable than having 100,000 followers and having 990 of them being what you're
Exactly.
selling. You know what I mean? So it's definitely about like you said, genuine having the connections there, rather than what you see on social media. A lot of it isn't real.
Right. I know, it's like in my head just to like get to a certain number, and it doesn't need to be because I have plenty of freaking work going on right now.
I don't know if this matters, but I've been, this is kind of ruthless, removing people who follow me if it's like a bot looking thing, because I feel like that brings your engagement down. Like you have more followers, but they're not engaging in anything. I don't know if that makes sense. So I literally just go on my list of followers, and if it's an account that is like no picture or no profile, like no posts, I just remove them.
Plus, they might be like checking you out. It might be like somebody.
Ex-boyfriend.
I have a few questions.
Ingrid.
One of them is, what is a goal that you guys have personally or in the workplace that you see yourself doing or you want to accomplish in the next 5 years? That's one of them. Should we go by parts?
First, okay, goal for my immediate future in the next 5 years is my daughter and making that her priority. I'm so thankful that I'm just, the answer really is living a life that I'm not gonna be in a nursing home and have regrets. So doing the steps now that hurt, right? Because I could be making so much more money than I am, and like from the steps that I took to spend time with her, and it's a constant check, but that's really my goal, is making sure that she's consistent with my priority number one, and at the same time focusing on me and just living like my dream that, I'm not gonna be, I'm living for myself and making my own rules.
So in my case, I've had an issue ever since my husband passed away. I can't really see past 6 months, and I don't know why I'm stuck there, because at first I couldn't see past like a week. So I've made progress. I just want to keep being content. Like, I am in a really good place, and my goal right now is just to stay positive, embrace where I am, and just see what happens next. Like, I am open. Like I don't know what I really want. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to jump ship from education completely. Like, I hate where it's going. I kind of hate the college piece. I hate the SATs. Like, and then I love it though, because that's what I do every day, and I'm like so passionate with the kids, and I know they feel my energy all the time, and I could walk in the classroom and like own it. And a kid said to me recently, like, you see me, I like that you're not fake. I like I know that I'm in a place where I make a difference, so I think that keeps me going. But I'm gonna stick with my 6 month windows. Right now.
And that's
I like
okay.
to travel. I'll get to
That's okay.
Cancun, I think. I hope to get to Puerto Rico this summer. Like,
So are you in a place of like, if it feels right, I'm just gonna flow
yes,
with it?
that's what I've been doing. Yes, does this feel good to me? I ask myself that every day. Is what I'm doing like? Even like I'm meeting with like in a meeting one day, like I just didn't like how it went. I went back. I was like, no, that felt good to me. We gotta like do it. Like that's kind of where I am, and it's kept me centered. I really am more present than I've ever been in my entire life, and like I just want to stay there. It's like a great place to be. And I'm glad I'm past, like before, like I couldn't even function. Like if someone asked me to do something, I'd be like, that's like in 2 weeks, I can't even think. But like, I'm past that piece. But I just wanna, I'm flowing.
I love it.
Yeah. That's where I'm
For goals, I feel like for Buns and Bites, I hope to just basically like take my radius and just like little by little grow it over the next 5 years. When I first started, I remember having a conversation with this guy that my friend put me in touch with from New York, and he was like this like big food blogger. And I was just talking to him, like trying to get some advice, like how should I start? And I was like telling him what I wanted to do, and I was like, I want to like be in LA and New York and like in Texas and all these places and like being with this big food blogger. And he was like, whoa. Before you do that, be the best where you are. Like if you're in Rhode Island, be the best in Rhode Island, and then like slowly but surely then be the best in Connecticut and the best in Boston and then the best in New York, and then eventually you'll be the best everywhere. So I'm not saying that I want to be the best, but I feel like I love what I'm doing in Rhode Island, and now I want to like start to like branch out a little bit more, like little by little. I mean, I love to travel, but in Rhode Island is obviously my home, and it's gonna be number one forever. But I'd like to just kind of start like, I'm very comfortable in Rhode Island, and sometimes like I'll go up to Boston and I'll literally be like the first day of school jitters, like, oh my god, I don't know anyone here. Like I feel like I could walk into a restaurant in Rhode Island, I'll see somebody who I know, but somewhere else it's intimidating. You're like, oh, they don't know me here. So I'd like to like step outside my comfort zone, get to go some new places, and see what else is out to eat outside Rhode Island.
And a second question for you is, how do you stay gorgeously fit, like with all the food that you eat, or do you really eat all the food, or do you take it home? Like what do you do with it? Because I think everybody's curious.
So the answer is yes, I eat the food. I eat the food all the time. And if you come out to eat with me, you know that I eat. I'm definitely a hungry person. When I go to a shoot, it'll be like myself, Jackie, sometimes I'll have a couple of other girls with me. So there's always like multiple people. So we'll sit down to like a spread of food as you can see on Instagram, but there's like 3 or 4 people eating it. So we'll eat a little bit of everything. Like I'm not gonna sit down and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like, yeah, I ate that whole tray of donuts. Like I obviously didn't. I had like a bite of the strawberry one, a bite of the chocolate one. Like I eat what I like to eat basically. And like if it's all food that like, sometimes there's just food that like it's good. I can say that this is good food, but it's not like my favorite food. I won't eat it because it's not my favorite food to eat. So
Have you ever had to post something about a restaurant where you didn't really like the food, but you were hired for a job?
I've never come across a restaurant where I've been like, shoot, like this food is like bad, and I have to post it. Mostly because like in Rhode Island, I already like have vetted, or I've already been there. I already know that the food is good, or if I haven't been there, like I already like can get an idea.
Yeah.
If there was something that like, let's say in the spread of food, that burger like wasn't good, I probably just like wouldn't post that burger.
Right.
Or if it was just straight up bad, like if everything was bad, like not good, then I would like have to have that awkward conversation and just say like, this doesn't really meet the standard. It's very important to me because if everybody in this room went out and had something to eat at a place that I recommended to them and that place was bad and it was just like all around not good food, then they would just know I'm not gonna go to Buns and Bites and see where she recommends. So that's, the integrity of that is very important to me. Like if there are people sometimes say, well, oh, you post this place, I like that place. Like you might not like it, but like I've gone and I've liked it.
Yeah.
So therefore I'm gonna share it. So, but yeah, I hope that answers the question.
What inspires you, Cassandra?
My 5-year
Yes.
plan. So it's to continue to grow glistening, obviously, and then launch Dry Bar in the summer and hopefully grow that and open more of those.
And I have a secondary question for you specifically, because that was so exciting to hear those news, and that's a huge thing, to open a business, and you have already an existing business going on, and you've had for the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
So what inspired you, or what made you look into the Dry Bar and bring it to Rhode Island? What was
That's
that?
a great question.
That thing.
So I've actually built my whole entire business on making women look and feel beautiful and confident and sexy and be part of their whole life, whether it's a simple moment, like I said before you got here, or a big moment, so I am a Dry Bar customer, obviously, and I was offered an opportunity to open, it's not gonna work out, but in a location in Cranston, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I could bring glistening here, like I didn't need to at the time, I had 3 locations, and then it like popped in my head, it was like, Dry Bar. It's Dry Bar. Dry Bar needs to be in Rhode Island. Why isn't Dry Bar in Rhode Island? Every time I book a flight, I book a blowout. I love getting my hair blown out, and I will literally.
For local restaurants and supporting local restaurants and supporting small businesses, especially during this time. And he's doing that now on the West Coast, and so my plan is to travel with him, but he's doing it in his little Subaru, and I don't feel comfortable sleeping in a car, and my mom would never let me do that, so I'm renovating a van to do that. And it has to have like a little bathroom or like something, because I just can't do it. So I told him that there needs to be a toilet. So my plan is to finish that, and it hopefully will be done this spring is the plan.
I'm sure you're gonna record every step, baby girl.
And then before we close, any last comments?
I would just like to say, I enjoyed the last event thoroughly. Like I love hearing about you, everyone's story, you, Allie. And I actually love listening to the engagement. I loved hearing from you. I love everyone here, and I feel like, it's so easy to talk about social, but I think it's so much more inspiring to see Cassandra blossom and grow. And Laura, I've got to meet you a couple times, and Camila, same thing. And listening to your story, we've all been touched with death, and it's just so nice to hear. And I love Alex. I love everyone in this room, but I think it's so inspiring for everyone to talk about their dreams and how they're coming to life, and how I think that we all need to throw out that this number doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't what Laura said, if it's a job, then it doesn't feel right, then it's not organic. And I think that through conversation we all got there nicely, and I just think it's very empowering how that organically happens. And I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Allie. So a couple of things. So I just wanted to, Lindsay, can you raise your hand? So Lindsay's line is Millie V. And then so she's just popping up tonight. I don't have my storefront here anymore, so my items are all available. I'm doing a 20% off sale tonight for the guests in the room. And so let me know any questions that you have. Feel free to try anything on. There's a ton of champagne and food left. And then I just want to say one thing in closing that I was very inspired by when Sarah Blakely sold her company. Sarah Blakely owns Spanx. And, you know, just talking a couple of things, like number one, the world is abundant, right? Like when Kim Kardashian like launched Skims, no one went out of business. So it's just really important to know that like the world is abundant and you can just literally just keep doing what you're doing. If you have a passion for the smallest niche, just go after it and try to limit the fear. And the thing that the comment that Sarah Blakely mentioned, I saw this on LinkedIn, you can see it on her profile, was in her closing session with when she had her party. She was saying like just women, inspiring women to do more because our moms couldn't. Why? Because there was not the internet. Like, raise your hand if you grew up without the internet, right? Like, so because of that, like, I think of what my grandmother did, and she managed a mill that I happen to like live diagonally across the street from now, and they couldn't. Like, my other grandmother, she crocheted like hats and outfits, and she was that fashion flair. And the reason why was in her small world was great. She blossomed, but if that were today, she would be able to expand based on having technology. And we all have that technology, and I feel personally, and just, you know, I'd like, you know, wanted to share this at the end, we have to do more because our ancestors couldn't. And I feel like we owe that to ourselves to be able to at least try to live out our dream because they really couldn't have the reach that we have today. So again, thank you.